Everybody, welcome to this impromptu version of CFP Talks. This is Joe Nissim, and today I want to talk to you guys about if you failed the November CFP exam. And I know how that feels. Failing an exam is never fun. Putting all that time and the effort into failing is just disheartening. It makes you stop and think. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to outline three critical mistakes that candidates typically make. And if you failed, you probably made at least one of these mistakes, if not all three of these mistakes. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to remedy it. So without further ado, let's jump in. So mistake number one that almost every candidate that I've ever worked with steps in to chat with me about is, Joe, I did 2,000, 3,000. I reset my Q bank once. I reset my Q bank twice. And I understand the logic behind this. Most of us are walking around thinking, well, if I do more, it's better. If I do more questions, if I spend more hours, I'm going to get a higher score on exam day. The reality of it is that this is a trap. It's a setup for failure. More times than not, you end up memorizing your Q bank, but never really learning the material. You're going to feel like you're prepared. And then when you actually get into the exam, it's going to feel like you got slapped in the face because what you were expecting wasn't actually there. So if you found yourself running into a time trap because you got slapped in the face, like that's not what I was expecting, the answer choices were different. You probably did a lot of pattern matching and memorization as opposed to real mastery of the material. This is mistake number one that almost every student makes. Now, the second mistake that a lot of students make is really not truly understanding the structure of the exam. And I know that we see 8 topics. We want to be prepared for all 8 topics, but not all of these topics are created equal. And I like to break these down into 2 parts, the big topics, my big 4 and my little 4. And on the left-hand side, you're going to see these big 4: general principles, investments, retirement, and tax. These items on the exam are 110 of the 170 questions you took on the test. Now, if you're looking at that 110 and 170, think you're going, oh my God, that's a huge number. Exactly. Now, again, we see these things in the knowledge topic guide. We know that there are bigger topics, but I don't necessarily think we always realize the extent to how big these 4 topics are. So if you were somebody that was prepping and you were dedicating one day to each topic and not overweighting these topics, you probably end up getting to the exam and thinking, oh my God, there's a lot of investment questions. There's a lot of retirement questions. And even if you did really, really well on the topics on the right, your conduct, your insurance, your estate, your site, you absolutely knocked it out of the park. Just one bad topic on the left-hand side can lead you to fail. And let me show you what this looks like, because I see this a lot when I sit down with students in chat, is we see a performance that looks something like this. Knock it out of the park on professional conduct, kill insurance, do great in estate, do well in psych, and then you're on the line with principles, with investment, with tax, and even still to the right of center on retirement. Retirement, just because of the weight of it, because of tax and investments weight, this will cause you to fail even though you're further on the green than you are further in the red. Now, if you had just one really bad topic, you had 2 bad topics, but you did well in the other ones, depending on how poorly you did in those topics, it can completely drag down your entire performance. You gotta be conscious of these big 4 and how you score in them. You really can't afford more than one bad topic in the big 4. And if you had more than one, or you're on the line on more than one, it could absolutely lead you to fail, even just by a small margin. Okay, let's go to our last mistake. And this is a rule that I talk about in my podcast all the time. And if you haven't heard me say it, let me just tell you what this 20-60-20 rule is. So we all know that the exam has 170 questions, and I want you to break this up into three parts: easy questions, medium questions, and hard questions. Now, the easy questions and the hard questions both represent 20% of the exam. So let's call 20%, and we're going to round, we're going to call it 35 questions. So I have 35 easy questions, 35 hard questions, and the middle of this is 60%. That's the meat of the exam. That's about 100 of the 170. Now, if you fell into the trap of, I'm going to work a lot of hard questions because if I can solve hard questions, I can solve easy ones. It seems like foolproof logic. If you can solve something, you can do something hard, you can do something easy. Unfortunately, that's not the way that it works on this exam. A lot of those easy questions, they're gimme questions. However, you still need to know them. And if you kind of breezed over them, you maybe looked at it once, maybe you looked at it twice, but you just didn't have it committed to memory, you're giving away 20% of the exam that should be the easiest part. You want to score as high as you can on those easy questions. Ideally, try to get every single one of them right, but at least 90% of them. On those medium questions, those are one-steppers, two-steppers, things that we see a lot of in the question bank. But again, if you're gearing yourself to those harder questions, maybe you didn't see it as much as you needed to. Those are things that still, they're not impossibly hard. They take a little problem solving, but we want to be scoring somewhere around an 80% there. Now, if you score 90 on the easy questions and an 80 on the medium questions, in order to pass this exam, you only need to score a 50% on the hard questions. So imagine spending all of that time on all of your hard questions and then only seeing 35 of them. And even if you did well on them, but you gave away points on all of the easy and medium ones, the easy, the definitions, the fundamentals, the give me's, the layups, even ones that were very, very manageable questions, you could have given away your exam just simply doing that. Remember, every question is still counts as 1 point. So whether that's a hard question or an easy question, you only get 1 point of credit. Okay, so now you're thinking to yourself, okay, Joe, I can see my mistakes now. What do I do? How do I attack it? Number one, if you're going to go in and you're going to take this March exam, and you're going to make this next attempt your last, you're going to do less multiple choice and more explanation. If you're going through a question and you can't explain it to a fifth grader why the question is the answer that it is, you don't know the material well enough. Number two, you're going to attack the big four. You're going to give that a majority of your studying time, and you're going to come back and reiterate those every single week of your study. It cannot be equally weighted. It has to be slanted towards the bigger topics. Lastly, those easy and medium questions, things that you get from your flashcards over and over again, you need to know those inside out, upside down. Meaning, if I shook you out of a dead cold sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning and I asked, what's a crat? You could tell me what it is. What's a grat? Tell me what that is. You can do very, very simple definition stuff with ease. That's what we need. Now, if this is overwhelming and you're not really sure what mistakes that you made, maybe you think there's other mistakes that you made or you need additional help, feel free to sit down with me. What we'll do is in a 30 to 45 minute strategy session is you and I are going to sit down. We're going to talk through how you studied for your exam. We're going to talk through what you did right and what you did wrong. We're going to talk through what you struggled with. We're going to talk through what that exam day experience was actually like for you and where you think things fell short. And then, most importantly, we'll try to talk about how to attack this next attempt so you don't have to do this process ever again. The link to that assessment is directly underneath it. Just click the link, pick a time and a date that works well for you. I'll send you a calendar invite with all of the details, including a Zoom link. And I'm looking forward to sitting down and meeting with you. And let's make your next attempt your last. All right, CFPers, have a good one. We'll see you next time.